Welcome, everybody, to Lightning Round Podcast. I am Garrett Sisti. This is the solo edition of the Lightning Round Podcast. I was at the first day of training camp today, so you probably saw some of my tweets over at Garrett Sisti, and I just kind of wanted to put it all together in a concise little short podcast so that I can get all my thoughts out and takeaways from the first day of training camp. So, first things first, we all thought that Derwin James wasn't going to be practicing today only because Staley was going to kind of slow roll him with his injury, but we found out that it's not because of that. It's because he's going to hold out until they get a contract done, which makes some sense. The Chargers let Derwin's team know, the last I heard, that they wanted to see how Derwin's injury would hold up in practice. So they wanted to see him practice a little bit and make sure that he's 100%. But seems Derwin James' team has taken control here and put the ball in their court and said, let's just get a deal done. Forget all that, which makes sense from Derwin's side because, you know, they could kick this can down the road for a long time. But if he's not there, you got to kind of expedite that process. So that's kind of what their team's thinking right now. And I'm sure they're going to get a deal done. It was pretty close last I heard. They were just kind of waiting. It was kind of a wait and see to see how that injury was playing out, but they'll get something done. They usually do. You know, Tom Telesco usually re-signs the guys he really wants. So, and Derwin's one of those guys. So that deal will get done soon. I'm sure of it. So in Derwin's place was Alohi Gilman. So it was Nasir Adderley as one of the safeties, and Alohi Gilman was taken over for Derwin James. We also saw a little bit of JT Woods, the third round pick, sprinkled in there in the safety group as well with the starters. So just to give you an idea of what the package looked like when they went 11 on 11. Inside the defensive tackles, the interior defensive linemen were Sebastian Joseph Day. It was Jerry Tillery and Morgan Fox. We saw a little bit of Austin Johnson worked in there as well. For the linebackers, it was Kyle Van Noy and it was Drew Tranquil. And then we saw Troy Reeder also in that first team linebacker group. In terms of the edges, we saw Joey Bosa. Khalil Mack was kind of on and off practice today. He was in some drills. He wasn't in other drills. In his place was Chris Rumph. So we saw a lot of Chris Rumph today. And then after him was Emeka Egbule. But we saw Chris Rumph kind of sprinkled in with the starters. And then at corners, it was J.C. Jackson on one side, Asante Samuel Jr. on the other side. Then Bryce Callahan was the slot corner. And then Michael Davis was getting sprinkled in there as the fourth corner with the starters. So the top four corners were kind of solidified today. We saw J.C. Jackson, of course, Asante Samuel Jr., Bryce Callahan, Michael Davis, and the fifth corner was Tavon Campbell. So he was ahead of Jasir Taylor and Deion Leonard, kind of those rookie DBs. So, you know, the vet kind of getting the first crack at that spot. So right now, Tavon Campbell is cornerback number 5 in terms of your depth chart. Then I think that was it. And then, you know, as I mentioned before, Nasir Adderley and Alohi Gilman up top for your safeties. J.C. Jackson got a big pass breakup today. Chargers already posted a video of it. It was on coverage of Mike Williams. That's going to be first of many for him. So it was good to see J.C. Jackson already making a splash in the first day of training camp. We saw, speaking of the rookie DBs, Deion Leonard had a really, really good rep today. He had a pass thrown his way. He squeezed the wide receiver against the sideline. I can't remember who the wide receiver was, but he was squeezing him against the sideline, kind of used the sideline as his friend, turned around and forced an incompletion. The wide receiver had to kind of come back in and dive for the ball. It was really, really tight coverage. It was a really good rep by Deion Leonard today. We saw, just thinking of DBs, Mark Webb today, which was nice. Got to see Mark Webb. We haven't seen him in a while, and he recovered a fumble. I think it was a fumble, and then they ended up blowing it dead. And I want to say it was Larry Roundtree who fumbled it, but don't quote me on that. But, you know, Mark Webb ended up getting in there. Nothing much outside of that because they only did 2 11 on 11s today. They didn't do a lot of one-on-one drills. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But and also some interior defensive line guys made some splash plays. Joe Gaziano, with the biggest one, he tipped a pass to himself, intercepted it, ran it in for a touchdown. Big man touchdown, huge spike, Gronk-like spike in the end zone, which is great. All effort. Loved the celebration, and he was pumped, and so was the defensive sideline. So Joe Gaziano getting an interception, able to tip the ball that was thrown by Easton Stick, catch it and return it for a touchdown. Joe Gaziano making a big splash play. The other splash play on the interior defensive line was from Brendan Fehoko, who knifed in the interior of the offensive line against the center, and I don't remember who it was at the time because they also were doing 11-on-11s on the far field, so it was really hard to kind of get a grasp on what was happening, but we did our best. And so he was able to knife into the backfield and get a would-be tackle for a loss. So Brendan Fehoko, Joe Gaziano kind of competing for one of those bottom, if not two bottom defensive line depth chart spots. So both making good plays today and kind of improving their case a little bit. So good on both of them. And the biggest takeaway for me today, this is include defense and offense, and if we're putting Derwin James aside, which obviously was the big headline today, the difference between Khalil Mack and everybody else, and I know you're thinking like, duh, obviously, but Joey Bosa and Chris Rump versus Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, it is wild to see the difference. They did the first 11-on-11s, and Khalil Mack was not in on that. It was Chris Rumpf, and it seemed like Justin Herbert had enough time to kind of have routes develop down the field. He had some time to complete some passes down the field, some intermediate passes, one deep pass, so he had some time. And then when Khalil Mack came in on the second 11-on-11s, which was their second and last 11-on-11, it was like the walls were caving in on Justin Herbert. Everything was check down city. His clock got sped up. Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa were just closing that pocket instantly, and he had no time to get anything downfield as a check down to Gerald Everett or to Austin Eckler. You did not see any routes develop in the intermediate field or the deep part of the, not even the deep part of the field, definitely not that. But Mack and Bosa were just worlds better. And I've been to a lot of camps, and I just don't remember seeing that type of pass rush, even with Melvin Ingram, to be honest with you, than what I saw today in that 11-on-11. And it was the first day, and Mack was kind of gassed up today, but man, the difference of having Khalil Mack on this team is really going to do them wonders. You can tell right away. So on offense, we talked about, the depth chart for the defense. For offensive line, from left to center, it's the same. Rashawn Slater at left tackle, Matt Filer left guard, Corey Linsley at center. Zion Johnson, the rookie first-round pick, is going to be your starting right guard. He got reps with the first-team and second-team offensive line, so he's getting a lot of work out there, which is great for him. And then at right tackle, it was pretty much a 50-50 split between Storm Norton and Trey Pipkins. So those two are obviously going to be battling it out for right tackle. And then Jamari Saylor, the rookie, is going to be playing left guard. He was the second-team left guard for the Chargers today. Easton Stick had a really, really rough day. There weren't a lot of bad plays today, except I think Roundtree fumbled. Somebody fumbled. I think it was Roundtree. Somebody fumbled. That was bad. Easton Stick, like I mentioned, had the interception already from Gaziano, threw a ball too low. Gaziano got a hand on it. And then also, there was a second time where he was trying to complete a slant across the middle. The coverage was way too tight on the wide receiver. Forgive me, I don't know who was the first wide receiver. It hit him off his chest with the corner able to get his hand in there, so there's no way to complete that pass. The ball pops up in the air, and luckily, Jason Moore is right behind him to catch the ball, and it's a reception on paper, but a terrible decision from Easton Stick in the film room. So while you count that in the books as a reception, he will get scolded in the room for making that throw. No need to make that throw. It was way too tight a coverage. Got to either tuck it and run or throw it away. And I know that's not fun in 11-on-11s, but that was not the throw to make. And he got lucky. Jason Moore was right there. So almost 2 interceptions by Easton Stick. And I know people might want Easton Stick gone tomorrow, but it's not. You can't put the hook on him that quick. Just a bad day for Easton Stick. Listen, I'm all team two quarterback, but I know a lot of people are going to hate on Easton Stick for his day today because it was not good. And then the only other thing I got is Joshua Palmer made a lot of his plays today. Him and Jalen Guyton were kind of cycling in from wide receiver 3. Palmer made the best of his opportunities, made a few catches. He flashed a couple times today, and that's pretty much it. I mean, this was one of the most anticlimactic day ones of training camp that I can remember. They had Lots of stretching, lots of individual drills. It was basically calisthenics all day today. They did 2 11-on-11s on the far field, might I add. And I know they're not doing it for me, they don't do it for the people watching. They do it for them. And I'm sure they'll ramp up camp soon. But we got no 7-on-7. We got no 1-on-1 going defensive line versus offensive line, which is one of the best drills to watch, and also the best to see who's going to win 1-on-1 on an island. And then also no 1-on-1 corner versus wide receiver. None of that. No DB wide receiver drills, no offensive line versus defensive line drills, just 11-on-11. So offensive line and defensive line didn't really get a lot of work today, to be honest with you, because they didn't really go 1-on-1. They couldn't make any plays. They couldn't go full on after a quarterback because you can't hit Justin Herbert or the wide receivers or the running back. So there's nothing for them to really do but try to get to the quarterback the best they could. And the fact that we weren't able to see any 1-on-1 drills was a bummer for us that were in the stands watching or on the field watching or wherever you were watching day one of training camp. So I'm sure they'll ramp it up, but that's all I got. That's the takeaways from day one. Wish it would have been more fun, a little bit more action. I didn't even get to see really special teams. You didn't really get to see who was fielding punts or who was playing gunner. They just had everybody out there. So that was a bummer, but there was a few things to take away from this. So thanks everybody for watching. Make sure you join us. We're going to be out there next Sunday, August 7th, I believe is the date. Jamie and I will be there. It's a later practice. We're going to go to that training camp. We'll tweet that out live when we're there. And then we're going to go get some pizza afterwards. Jamie tweeted out the name of the pizza joint. I can't remember. Original Pizza Bar and Grill, I think. Go join us there August 7th next Sunday. So thank you so much, everybody. And we'll see you next time.